So your first year that you did go all in, what was your transition? Because I guess it was kind of like once you were making enough money, you finally said like, okay, I don't need my other job at all anymore because now my income is like my librarian income plus my second year of real estate. So now I can't say no to it anymore.
Yeah. So that year, 2021, I was teaching full time and selling real estate. I made $80,000 in real estate, $60,000 as a teacher. And I just was like, come on, Brittney, just do it. Yeah. It was scary though, right? I lost health insurance. I have these 2 kids that still need to eat every day, 3 times a day they need to eat. It's ridiculous. And so it was scary, but I just did it. And so 2022, I made, it blows my mind, actually. I made $500,000 last year. And that was my first full year of just being on my own. And then this year, I started the brokerage and team, and I can't wait to see what happens.
So the question is this: how do most agents succeed in today's competitive real estate market when all the successful agents are keeping the secrets to themselves? So that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. I interview agents from all over the world. I ask them their tactics, and they share all of their secrets with me so we can give them to the world. I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. I'm excited about the interview we're about to start. I've been talking to Brittney for a couple seconds before we came on, but Brittney Kosev, she's the broker owner of BK Real Estate in the DFW area in Texas. But before we even hit the recorder, I realized that she has actually been growing her team in her office all over Texas. I think that's going to be pretty exciting for us to talk about. Brittney, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited to get to talk to another person in Texas that's doing real estate. When did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate about 6 years ago, right around the time I was getting a divorce. It's kind of why I got into the business.
Got it. So go ahead. So you got a divorce, and was that the moment of like, hey, I need to do a new career change, or hey, I need to do a career after not having a career for a while?
No, I was, so I was the first person in my family to go to college. And so when I looked around when I was a kid, all I saw were teachers. They were all the professional people I knew. And so I actually started in education. I was a 4th grade teacher, got married, had kids. Then I decided to get my master's, and I became a librarian. And then a few years later, my ex-husband and I were starting to have issues in our marriage. I saw the end kind of in sight. And so as he was the primary breadwinner, I was making $60,000 a year as a teacher. I realized quickly that I needed to figure out a way to supplement my income. So I got my real estate license. I slung books during the day, slung houses at night. And I did that for 2 years, just doing both. And then finally in 2020 with the crazy market frenzy, I was able to scale really quickly through, just building relationships with people. And then in 2021, I was able to quit teaching, and I've been full-time ever since.
Great. So right now, 2023, how many transactions do you think you'll do?
So far I've got about 15 million in volume for the year. And my goal is about 30. That's what I did last year. And it's a pretty lofty goal as I'm trying to grow the brokerage. In fact, I didn't even know my numbers until yesterday when I was doing some prep work for today.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy to people, but I've got my assistant, my director of operations in place, and she kind of handles everything because I'm so busy during the day. So I really just haven't dug into those numbers. I know I've been busy.
Yeah.
But just kind of diving deep, I was like, wow, man, I'm doing the same I did last year.
Especially considering how much everything is kind of, it's just slower. It takes more work to close transactions right now. There's just less volume everywhere. What's the average price point up there in DFW where you transact?
Well, my average price point's about 500,000. And that's grown over the years a lot, like your other people that you bring on the podcast. I was listening to some people, and they talk about how, in the grind, you're beginning, you're doing 150, 200. And here in Texas, that's a pretty reasonable number. But in DFW, the average home price is around 350. So I'm slightly above that. And that's happened because I've built my sphere. You know, people I know are getting older, they're buying bigger houses, and that's definitely part of it.
Yeah. So you're around that average price of 500,000. And what about, like, how big is your team and your brokerage?
So we only opened our doors in January. And since January, we have grown to 23 agents across Texas.
Wow, that's growing really quickly. So you were an individual agent for a long time, just doing your own transactions. And then just 6 months ago, you said, let's try to build something and expand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of it is I've kind of figured out this cycle that I have in my life. I start something and I get really good at it, like teaching. I loved teaching. I loved seeing the light in my students' eyes when they learned a new concept. But after 4 years of teaching, I started getting bored. And so that's when I got my master's in library science. And I did that for 4 years. And then I started getting bored. And so the same things kind of naturally happened in real estate. I wanted to combine the two things that I enjoy, which is real estate and teaching. And so that's one of the reasons I started the brokerage. And also, I believe in what I'm doing as far as helping investors and the way I'm navigating all of that. And I want more people to understand what it's like to be an investor-friendly agent. And so that's what I teach my team.
So when you started, you said you were a librarian during the day, and then you were an agent at night, and you actually did both jobs, if I got it right, for like 2 to 3 years. What was that like? What were the challenges of that? Like, how were you able to actually do 2 jobs? You know, what were the challenges to that? Did you lose deals because of it?
The biggest challenge, Aaron, is I'm a single mom. And so when I was teaching in a city called Southlake here in DFW. And my kids went to a different school. I was a librarian at the middle school. My kids went to another elementary. And so they'd get bussed over to me. And so I had about a 45-minute window after school ended while they were riding the bus. And I would use that time just to grind out text, emails, phone calls after school. I didn't take a lunch break. I used my lunch break time to work. Conference times. I mean, my friends describe me as very efficient, and I think that's true. And the kids, they were 7 and 9 at that time. They're 10 and 12 now. They had to go with me to showings, and DFW is huge, and I don't focus on one particular area. And so after school it was tough. They'd jump in the car. They'd go with me out to Garland for a listing appointment. They'd sit in the car. I would pick up McDonald's on the way, all the stuff. That was definitely the biggest challenge, is navigating how to be a mom, be an agent that doesn't let her clients down, and also be a good librarian, because I really did value my job as well doing that.
Yeah, I remember early in our kind of real estate investing journey when it was like that, when our kids were very young, and I would buy the houses and fix them. And my wife was the broker. And while she was doing the open houses, sometimes we had our babies there, or sometimes I was like driving around nearby and we would like go check on her and say hi when nobody was there so the kids could see her. And then when people would show up for the open house, I would take the kids back in the car and we'd go drive around. So it was like in between clients, we'd be hanging out with her. And then as soon as someone would show up, we're like, okay, we're out of here and let her do her thing. I'm sure there's so many pros and cons to that, but you doing it as a single mom, it was like you didn't have a choice. And so you were able to do that. So they got to see you working hard from early on, and your clients got to see you working hard early on too. So where were you getting your leads at that time? Like, so right when you got started, as you're doing it as a side gig, but you're working really hard on kind of both of them, how are you getting clients?
Yeah. So I really began taking off when I developed a relationship with a local investor. I feel like in real estate as agents, sometimes we see wholesalers and we think, no, get out of here. But really, they have a place in our market. They have a place in real estate. And I developed a relationship with a guy that was just getting off the ground. And I wasn't doing any business really at the time. I was selling books. I kind of felt like I was selling books sometimes. Yeah. I was in the library all day. And so I didn't have a lot of avenues to get out there and do much. So I asked him if I could list one of his lease listings that he was trying to get a tenant in place. So can I list it for free? And I know you don't trust me. You don't know me yet. So I listed it for free. And from that, I just wanted the leads. I wanted the experience. I wanted the practice. And so that really went a long way in his eyes. He saw how hard I worked. And then I converted a bunch of those leads into clients for myself. And from there, he actually, and I get emotional every time I talk about this. I did put on waterproof mascara. From there, he started trusting me, and I was making $4,000 a month, Aaron, as a librarian. And he gave me my first real client, and I made $12,000 in commission. It was life-changing money to me back then. I mean, I could put food on the table and take my kids on a vacation, and we can get new shoes. It was so exciting. And so developing relationships like that has really helped me grow. In fact, he and I still are business partners to this day. He's a huge part of my brokerage and my company. And we've developed a system where any leads that don't fit him in his buy box, he sends them over to us and we convert them as listings. And so my team gets tons of listing leads because of that relationship. And what's cool is because of him, I've learned so much about investing, and now other investors have come into the play. And so we've got leads coming in from probably 5 different sources as in just investors working with us.
Hey listeners, Aaron here. I just want to tell you about something I'm super, super excited about. A couple months ago, I had a bunch of people in my office in Austin, and I taught what I called my foreclosure masterclass. It was to teach investors how to make money with distressed real estate investing through foreclosures and other sorts of leads that are out there of people that are desperate to sell or need to sell, and maybe they don't even know it yet. And that process. Well, we had so much fun when everyone came to the office. So many people said they wanted to do it again. I recorded the class. It's now live and available for purchase. So if you're interested in learning about becoming an investor and learning about becoming an investor agent, being able to educate yourself some more around foreclosures, about distressed real estate, and how to get those, go to theforeclosuremasterclass.com. Theforeclosuremasterclass.com. All right, back to the podcast. I remember those first commission checks too, especially when it's something on the side. And when that first thing hits and it becomes the thing that pays for that vacation, or frankly, at the beginning, it was that thing that paid off part of a credit card, right? As we were starting to get caught back up in life. And as you describe that, I do get chills, because when the reason that people are, considering real estate for the most part, especially when they're doing career changes into something else, it is that idea of, we hear about the possible amounts of money that can be earned. We think that we would be good at that fit. And those first commission checks really, really are special, especially if you're used to getting a salary. Because if you're used to getting a salary, you're getting paid weekly or every couple weeks and kind of pay your bills, and maybe there's some extra, or you pay your bills and then some credit card charges. But when the commission checks come all at once, it's oh, boom, all of a sudden I have this extra. And if I can keep it going. So I remember the excitement. And as you describe that, that makes sense. So the beginning, so that first guy that you met, you're hey, let me list this. And it was so you were listing his lease for him for free. And so then you could get, leads from the other people. And now, were these renter leads that turned into buyers, or renter leads that you helped them find other houses to rent?
Yeah, they were renter leads. And back then, $500 was a lot of money to me.
Yeah.
So if I could help someone place them in a home and make $500 off of it, that was a lot of money. Like I said, I was making $4,000 a month as a teacher. And so when I got that first commission at $12,000, that's life-changing money. And now I make $12,000 off most transactions or more. And it's still, I think back, and I was talking to one of my San Antonio team leader. He and I went to high school together. We grew up in a really small West Texas town. We always joke, started from the bottom, now I'm here kind of jokes. I grew up in a trailer home for a part of it. If my mom wasn't moving us somewhere else, she was also a single mom. So we joke all the time. And now $12,000 is normal to me. But I don't forget what $4,000 a month felt like. And so for me personally, I don't say no to any deal, any lead. I take it all. I'm thankful for everything. And there's a lot of gratitude into what I do. I'll take 1% listings sometimes to this day, just because I'm like, man, don't forget $4,000 a month. That's what you used to make.
Yeah. I love that. And I think for newer agents or even agents right now that are trying to get more clients or trying to make adjustments, I kind of love this strategy that you just talked about, of that idea of, and someone could take that and kind of reverse engineer it. So try to look in your market of like investors that are doing a lot of transactions, or people that are doing a lot of work, or somebody that says, hey, if I can impress this person and do their business and get them into my network, it can be something really, really special. And then starting with that idea of, hey, I will list this for you for free, or I will represent you for free if it's somebody that can turn in, if it's very strategic. I don't think people should do that all the time, but if it's strategic, right, and it's like, hey, I can get this. I remember my very first investment stuff when I was buying flips. When I first met investors, I said, I'll do the first one for free. You guys will get 100% of the profit, because I needed to prove to them who I was and that I could do it. And those investors went from me doing it for free to then me doing it for 25% profits, and then 50% of the profit eventually. And then now I get most of the profit, and they get less. And it was that transition that I think other people could try that. It's kind of like what we do with open house leads, and people.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a lot of people will go to open houses and get leads, but if you're the listing agent, you will get a lot more leads. Like you'll get all the sign call leads, plus you'll get the open house leads. So it's like taking that open house idea a step further. Like I'll actually do the whole listing for free. So then you get all the open house leads, all the other listing leads, all the sign calls, and then be able to turn it in to more. So you've been able to like grow that and keep going with it, and then, so what, as you look about now, what is something that you wish you'd have known about real estate when you first got started?
I think that when I first got started, I was so in my head about my ability to do it, coming from, I think it was, Seller Be Sold, Grant Cardone. I mean, obviously I'm a huge reader still. Yeah. You see all my books behind me. I read every day, and I try to read something that's going to make me a better person, better agent, better broker, better mom. And I read Seller Be Sold by Grant Cardone when I was trying to make that transition in my head of W-2 to 1099, right? And he makes this analogy that I think is great. He says, when you were a W-2, if you think about fishing, you were handed the fish ready to go. But when you are an agent transitioning to selling, you not only are the fisherman, you've got to build the whole fishing pole itself. And then you have to sit out there and you have to wait. And it's a lot more behind it in your mind than just doing the transactions. And so when I first got started, I had a lot of naysayers in my ear. Oh, the market's so saturated. Don't do it. I know 15 agents. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to do that? Can't you focus on some? Maybe you should become a principal, Brittney. That'd be a great job for a single mom. I just, and I pushed it. So I wish that I would have known. I wish I would have believed in myself more back then. I think I could have been where I'm at a lot quicker. Because my first year, I think I made $40,000 in real estate, which to me, of course, was a lot. And then the next year it was 80. And then the next year, it just kept doubling until, okay, you got to quit teaching, Brittney.
Yeah. Your story is really exciting, because there will be more people that they're always, every time we do a podcast, someone that is listening is deciding to quit their job and jump into real estate, or someone that is listening is deciding like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get my license and I'm going to keep this job, but I'm going to start to try to do it on the side. And so it really is like that inspiration, the excitement. I love it. I love knowing that every time I get a message every day from somebody that says, hey, I heard your podcast, I quit my job, and now I'm taking off in real estate. So what about advice?
I feel the same way. I'm sorry. I have to brag for a second on some of my team members. I've got an assistant principal on my team, and she is contemplating quitting this year. And it's just, I see it for them, because I know it's doable, and I see their work ethic. My little sister is also part of the team. She's the Houston division. She just got her license last month, Erin, and she has 2 deals in escrow and 2 listings. And I cannot be more proud. I see it for her, but she still has a full-time job. And I wish that they believed in themselves like I believe in them. Quit.
Yeah. Go all in.
Go all in.
You gotta really take the leap. So I would say I guess I have two different questions. When it comes to people that are working, doing real estate on the side, what advice would you give to them to help them succeed in real estate? If they're like, no matter what, I'm not going to quit my other job for 6 months because I'm scared. So then what advice do you give them on how they could still succeed in real estate? Not losing the clients, because there's all these challenges they're going to have. How should they overcome those challenges as they grow their real estate book?
Yeah, I think that part of the mindset, like I said, is integral. My favorite book is You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. She talks a lot about that, your mindset. I think that when you are working two jobs like that, you've got to get up before everybody in the house. I think that's key. It's critical. Or you have to stay up extra late after everybody's in bed. For me, I'm an early riser. I get up around 4:45 every morning, and I do my thing in the morning before the kids need to get up. And I think that's really important, especially if you are working another job. Are you staying up late, busting stuff out? Or are you getting up early? And then I think having a couple of months bills saved up is really important, just for that confidence and security. Because I can say, and I will say this, I respect the people that are doing it and not just diving in full time. I understand the fear, and I understand that it's scary. My sister included. I totally respect that. I just wish that someone told me, hey, if you're already doing this, imagine what it would be like if you had 40 extra hours a week and 40 extra hours of energy. Imagine how much further you could go. So I think setting aside quiet time in the morning and the evening where you can really focus on that second job, and then putting a few months of savings behind the belt. And then the third thing is just believe. Have full faith, just believe in yourself. Affirmations, whatever it is that you do, pray, write it down, journal, tell yourself you got it.
Yeah. Hey guys, a quick commercial break here, but don't worry, this one is only going to run for the next 2 or 3 episodes. I talk so much about the mastermind. It's one of my passions, getting everybody to come hang out in Austin, where I get to meet you guys. Well, we just had it, a few weeks ago, and we decided for next year we were going to do pre-sales. We're only selling 70 tickets total for the whole country, and that way we keep it nice and small, where everybody meets everybody, and at the end of it, it's like a big giant family. Well, we put out the pre-sales last week, and during the pre-sales, we sold more than 60 tickets. So there's less than 10 spots left. 10 spots left if you want to join us for the mastermind for next year. We're putting the date so far out there, you've got no excuses to be able to know that the date works. You can put it in your calendar now. And we also set up a payment plan for people to break it up into 4 easy payments. So if you're one of those people that have thought about going to the mastermind, have never pulled the trigger, now's the time. And it's for March for next year. But you got to go sign up now if you want that spot. I don't like selling. I don't like advertising. So we figured we would knock it out quickly. We'd knock it out this first couple weeks in April for next year. So instead of working on that, we're going to focus on value. If you do join the mastermind, you get to be join part of our private Facebook group where we do monthly Zoom calls, where we do tactics. On those calls, they're really small. There's between 10 and 20 people on those. So you get to ask lots of questions and learn from experts. So if you are interested in signing up, go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com/mastermind, realestaterockstarsnetwork.com/mastermind. Go lock in your ticket. We have less than 10 spots left. You can break it up into 4 payments, so that way it is much easier to be sure to join. And I promise you, it is the least expensive mastermind out there for the type of stuff that we're doing. The Go Abundance masterminds that I talk about that I'm a part of cost 5 times what we do for this, and I try to deliver twice as much value. All right, back to the podcast. I love that at the beginning, because yes, you're like, so you were making $40,000, even your very first year, you made $40,000 doing it on the side while doing the other one. And at that moment, you should have been able to tell yourself or see yourself like, wow, if I can do that just working between 4 a.m. and 7 and between like 4 and 6 when the kids are on the bus, like if I can do it with that, imagine if I went all in on this thing. And then, so your first year that you did go all in, what was your transition? Because I guess it was kind of like once you were making enough money, you finally said like, okay, I don't need my other job at all anymore, because now my income is like my librarian income plus my second year of real estate. So now I can't say no to it anymore.
Yeah. So that year, 2021, I was teaching full time and selling real estate. I made $80,000 in real estate, $60,000 as a teacher. And I just was like, come on, Brittney, just do it.
Yeah.
It was scary though, right? I lost health insurance. I have these 2 kids that still need to eat every day, 3 times a day they need to eat. It's ridiculous. And so it was scary, but I just did it. And so 2022, I made, it blows my mind, actually. I made $500,000 last year. And that was my first full year of just being on my own. And then this year, I started the brokerage and team, and I can't wait to see what happens.
That is so amazing, Brittney. And it's so amazing, like probably one of the things that you would have told yourself that you wish you'd have known at the beginning was it is possible not just to succeed, but to flourish, to have this that's an amazing income. That's an amazing income that 5 years ago you could have never dreamed of, that 10 years ago you could have never dreamed of, that most people listening in their first year of real estate could never dream of. And so that idea of knowing no, it is possible, and it is more possible when you go all in and you do the work. I think one thing, an advantage that you probably had is by working the 2 jobs, right? Is you had this crazy work ethic. I also get up at 4 a.m. and that was part of what I learned at different times when my jobs were really struggling and I had to do office work from 4 to 7 and then drop the kids off at school. And then once they were at school, go do on-site construction stuff. There were times in my, in my business that really, really was all right, I can't hire people to do this. So I've got to do the jobs of 3 people. But then so you gained this huge work ethic of being able to work from beginning of the day to whenever and work harder and longer and faster than everybody else. So then when you're able to put all that into real estate, you were already going to be outworking any of the other real estate agents that were out there. Have you found that do you feel like you have an advantage when you're learning, when you're hearing from some of the other people on how they're doing their business?
At the beginning of 2022, when I was first starting after quitting my job, I was doing everything myself, my TC work, my showings, all of it. At about the same time, about 3 months in, my little brother, so I'm the oldest of 7, by the way, my little brother's wife, who I love and adore, was just tired of what she was doing. She hadn't really found her calling. And I said, hey, you want to stay home with Bastion, my nephew? I need help on the admin side. And I brought her on as TC. I was only paying her, I believe, $250, $300 a transaction. And immediately I saw so much value in it. She was awesome. So then I started paying her $500. Then I started paying her $600 because I was like, I need her. I don't want her to go back to work. And then I started paying her $800 a transaction. Finally, though, when we started, when I just was able to do so much more because of her help. 2023, when we started the brokerage, and I say we, I'm the broker owner, I brought her on as my first salaried employee, and I'm paying her, which is just blows my mind. I'm paying her $60,000 a year, just like I was making. And I never thought I could do that for anybody. But she is the hub of everything behind BK. She's the director of operations now. She does all of our TC work, and she's my right-hand man.
Yeah, it's pretty special to go from being a W-2 employee to actually getting to provide jobs and provide livelihoods for other people. And there's so many different people that need to be involved in real estate or should be involved in real estate, that not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to have the up and down of the salary and the scariness and that. And they're just give me a nice, stable job. So you have found a perfect partner in that your operations manager is I want the nice and stable. You said at the beginning, you're so busy that in order to get the stats, you had to ask ask your operations manager what it is. So now that you have a team and you have people and you have employees, what are you spending your time on? What do you think are the best dollar value stuff that you're spending your time on?
100% it's building relationships, lead generation. So for me, I don't pay $1 for leads. I never have. Never done Zillow, never done pay-per-click. I just build relationships with people. And so that helped me a lot in teaching, right? I had reluctant readers come into my library, and I just needed to make sure they felt safe and comfortable. I do the same thing with my clients. You're safe and comfortable with me. I'm going to make sure that we have a successful relationship. And now, 100% of my business is referrals and Sphere. I give every single lead that comes through from the investors that we built relationships with to my team. And building those relationships with the investors, I do a lot of Google Meets. I'll get people on the phone. Maybe someone finds me on social media. They reach out to me and they say, hey, I'm looking to invest, or I'm an investor that's looking to bring on an investor friendly agent. So I set up Google Meets and I get in front of people like we're doing right now. And there's a lot of credibility that goes behind the numbers, right? So when you've done X amount of work, and I also own real estate, and I did all of that in 2022 when I started making the commissions. I had all this in the bank. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And then I started thinking about, oh gosh, what happens if something happens to me? Where are my kids going to be? This commission is going to do nothing for them in the future. And so I started getting into bigger pockets, right? And listening every day. In 2021, I actually went to the Bigger Pockets conference in New Orleans. In 2022, I went to the Bigger Pockets conference in San Diego. So when I went to the one in 21, I didn't own a single door. I had just bought my first primary for me and the kids. I still own that house. We transitioned it to a rental. But in 2022, I wanted to figure out a way where my kids could have success in the future. And so I bought each of them a house for cash, a $20,000 house, $30,000 house that had tenants in place. And from there, I've just been able to grow and scale. And so I lean on that when I talk to investors. They need to know that I understand what makes a cash flowing property. I have a mix of short-term and long-term rentals, so I can speak to them on those things. And then I also lean on my team. My boyfriend actually was on your podcast, Harrison
Oh, really?
Sharp. He and I together, people describe us as a power couple because we both are pretty strong producers. And I lean on him and he leans on me. And so together, our numbers look really stellar. And so that's a great way to show new investors that are coming on to the brokerage and wanting to trust us. We've done X and we can do Y for you.
Yeah. Your journey is so incredible, especially when it's like starting as a single mom to like, hey, how can the nerves of being able to provide a future as the primary breadwinner and trying to come up with that plan. And not only have you now succeeded inside, like now you're making income. That idea of, we did the same thing, buying houses for the kids. And like with this idea.
Yeah, I think it was Brandon Turner that I listened to on Bigger Pockets. And he said that he did that. And I was like, I'm going to do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Their allowance comes out of their rents. Right. And then knowing that like in 10 years, in 20, we all say like, oh man, if we'd have bought a house 20 years ago. And so, later in life, when they have those, the short-term investment is so small compared to what they end up getting. I spoke at the Bigger Pockets conference in 2021. So I was there at the New Orleans one.
Yeah, I probably was in the back of the audience like, oh my God, I'm a pretender. Yeah,
you're like, should I be here? One of my books had just gotten released through Bigger Pockets out there. So we were there, but that is a great,
congratulations.
It's a great avenue to help people learn about, investing and how to do it, but again, your journey's been amazing. And you've probably accomplished now more than you imagined. And if you would have had the faith earlier on, you would have gotten into real estate, so many years sooner. But like, what's your best advice you could give to just a new agent right now, like a new person getting started in real estate, where it's like with anything, how should they be successful? What's going to be the key? I know you talked earlier, you gave the tips about if somebody has another job and they're doing both, but if somebody's like just getting into real estate, or maybe it's the second time they've heard a podcast and they're thinking about getting into real estate, what would you be telling them?
Well, I'm going to have to say it because I believe it all day, is educate yourself, right? Read the books. Go to the networking events. Go sit at the back of the Bigger Pockets conference. I mean, soak it all in. Find a broker mentor that really believes in what your goals are and they're living it and doing it daily so that you're aligned with that. Surround yourself with people that are speaking the language. I mean, they all, the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Elevate yourself. Put yourself in a room where people are better, smarter, doing more. The investor that I worked with, the very first one, remember I told you that I did the free lease on that? Yep. We are still business partners. In fact, he and I just bought a mortgage company. And we do things daily, and I could not have come this far if I didn't surround myself with people like him, my boyfriend, and my sister. And now I just feel like when I talk to people, if I feel immediately like they're draining me or their goals don't align with my goals, I cut it off. Yeah. And so I think for new agents out there, surround yourself with the people you want to be like.
I love that. I think that's amazing advice to give to people. Educate yourself like crazy. Go get as involved as you can. Treat it like it's a full-time job. And if at the beginning you don't quite know what you're doing yet, like people measure full-time jobs as like 40 hours a week. Like, are you spending 40 hours a week building relationships, going to events, calling people, having coffee with people? Like, just, you got to get your reps in. You got to put the time in.
Absolutely. I was listening to, just powering through all of your podcasts, right? Getting ready, just listening to all of these amazing people you bring on. Also in my head, so I still have those negative thoughts. Like, I don't know. I can't, I'm not anything like these people. They're all so much better than me. It's telling yourself, come on, Britt, you got this. Stop. But I listened to one this morning, just as I was out on my walk this morning with my dog. And it was that exact thing. Like, how many hours are you putting in? I was a 40-hour a week librarian. You have to put those 40 hours in on real estate too. I mean, if you're working 80 hours a week, so be it. If you really care and you really have the goals, then you'll be successful.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. We only have a few minutes left in this episode, but before we get to the grand finale, I just wanted to say, as always, thank you for listening. Podcasts are obviously free. You don't have to pay to listen to the podcast, but if you could pay one thing, if I could charge you one thing to listen to this podcast, what I would ask you to do is go, please, make a review. Go to wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's on YouTube or on Apple or Android, wherever you listen to podcasts, and go give me a review of the podcast. I read them, I listen to them, I try to make adjustments. A couple years ago, I had a ton of bad reviews on the sound quality or the number of advertisements, things like that. And I've really tried to dial in to add value for all of you guys. So please go do a review. If you want to get a copy of the toolbox of the stuff that, everybody that comes on the show, they give us some tactics. They give us something that we put in what we call our toolbox. And so to get that, you go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com. When you get there, click on the toolbox and you get access to the free gift that every person that we interview on the episode provides. There's things like, listing tactics, how to do a presentation, how to do a newsletter, all sorts of cool, fun stuff. And if you want to talk to me, go find me on Instagram at Aaron Amuchastegui. Ask me a question. I talk to so many of you guys on there. All right, back to the show. Thanks again for being a listener.
So I'm so thankful for my mother. She actually just walked in. I wasn't expecting her to come. It's on me. I should have texted her. But she moved here 2 years ago to live close to me, and help me with the kids and help me with housework. I literally could not do this without her. And so she just walked in the door and I felt like a teenager all over again. Mom, I'm on the phone. I just told.
You're like, come on. So I don't know if you've ever caught any of the podcasts. My son Brax is 7 and he has made it on. When I get interviewed on podcasts, he's probably been on like 7 or 8 podcasts where I've been interviewed. He's probably made it on a dozen ones where I'm interviewing, because at different times he'll like come in. Like I'm in the back house where my studio is, but like it's a family affair. People aren't successful on their own, right? Whether it's relationships that we make, whether it's people that are helping with the family, and and I heard once at an event, like he said his kids can always interrupt him for a hug. Like family can always interrupt him for a hug, no matter what's going on. And so so it's part of life as we're doing this. So I'm glad to see you're surrounded by so many people that are helping you in your journey. I want to talk for a minute about your expansion and what's next, right? Because you went from like 40 to 80 to 120 to 500. You're providing careers, you're owning houses, you're becoming an investor. Now, January, you said, now I'm going to become a broker owner, grow my team. You've already grown it very large. What's your plan over the next year, and what's going to be your secret to success? Like, there's going to be some agents listening right now that are in Texas, just got their license. What would you be telling them as they're trying to figure out what to do with that?
Well, I mean, my goal over the next year is I'd like to grow, obviously, the brokerage. I'm not hiring in DFW at the moment, but towards the end of the year, I'd love to bring on some more team members as I finish systemizing. But we're actively looking for agents in San Antonio, Austin, and Houston. And I think that what I would love over the next year is to grow my team to really create the most elite agents out there, investor friendly, teaching them about all the things that I wish I would have known. I think that that's one thing that maybe sets our brokerage apart from others is I'm not afraid of things like creative financing, novations, educating yourself on those kind of things. And then if that's something that you're interested in doing, partnering with a broker that is going to let you do that. One of the reasons I started the brokerage, I told you, was twofold. I love real estate and I love helping people and I want to develop a team. But the other thing is I don't like when people tell me what I can and can't do. So I sold a multifamily apartment last year, biggest sell I've ever done. And I represented a buyer. And my broker at the time, although they were, excited for me, they were not comfortable. They were not comfortable with me getting into the multifamily space. And so that to me was like well, maybe I'm outgrowing them. Maybe I need to think of ways that I can support myself. And that's another reason I started the brokerage. So if you have goals if your agents that are listening have goals that are exceeding where they're currently at, well, then realign yourself. Think about where you want to be and who is going to be with you. Which moms are going to come walk in through your podcast and support you. All the people that you can surround yourself with. You got to build up those systems, the people in the right places.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think you're going to be really successful. I mean, you've already been really successful with growing out the team and out the brokerage, but I think it's just like you said, that part of your success is like the 5 people you hang out with and the 10 people you hang out with and the networks. And that has been the story of my life. I mean, I did really well when I was doing it alone, but I had so many more ups and downs. And when I started to do life as a team, as part of masterminds and was hanging out with people doing the same thing, man, stuff got accelerated so much more. And the lows weren't quite as low and the highs were way, way higher. And it's a great point too, of people being able to outgrow their own brokerage, especially just based on that. Like you're going into big multifamily and there could be like, this is exciting. Let's grow with you. Let's figure out how we can help support you with this. Yeah. To instead of saying like, we would rather you don't get into commercial because for whatever reason, right? Like anytime you have a goal and you say, this is my goal and I want to do it. And if you've got somebody telling you why you can't do it, that's not the sort of people that you want to be aligning yourself with. Well, this has been really, really fun. I would say, one, is there any last things you would want to tell anybody about real estate or anything about your journey? And then also finish up with where they can find you, how they can reach out to you, especially if they want to learn more about, what you're doing. They want to get advice with choosing a broker or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to reiterate as far as what I want agents to know, and I tell this to my team all the time, the loudest voice around you is your own. So what are you telling yourself every day, right? I tell my children, my son will get so upset sometimes and he'll say, I'm so stupid. And I said, stop it right now. No one talks about my son like that. Yeah. But we do it to ourselves. I'm such an idiot. I can never do this. There's 1,000 agents out there. What you're saying to yourself, words are magic. So switch that around. I'm bringing to the toolkit actually my goal planning worksheet that I did with my team. And one of the things in it is really pinpointing your whys and creating some affirmations around it. I have my affirmations I write and say every day, corny ones. Like money flows easily to me, but down to like things that I really have to work on. I am confident. I am assured. I believe in what I'm doing. So I think new agents, tell yourself that. Don't let you get in the way of your own success. And then as far as where people can find me, I am Brittney Kosev. You can find me on Instagram with my name. Our website is bkrealestatetx.com. And yeah, I'd love to connect.
Yeah, that is so awesome. Well, Brittney, I just found you on Instagram and got to follow you on there. So I'm sure we'll be chatting more and more. I love the idea of the toolkit, like the affirmations. I'm a huge fan of the affirmations and the mantras, and I've got goal sheets all over me in here and vision boards. I believe in it. I believe in it from the first time I read The Miracle Morning, and it became
yes,
so much.
I love that book. He was at the 21. I guess you listened to him there. 21 Bigger Pockets.
Hal's actually become a great friend of mine. The first I read his book, got to meet him a couple years later. Yeah, he spoke at the Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind event in 2021. Out in Austin. Maybe he'll come by and see some of us next year at that one. But I love what you're doing. And for listeners, when she talks about that toolbox, it's a reminder, go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com. There's a button on there to say, sign up for the toolbox. As you put in your info, you get kind of that free gift that every one of the people that we interview puts on there. It's their tips and tactics. And I think what Brittney just described is something that all of you guys need. Brittney, congratulations on your success. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Super excited to be part of this.
Well, I'm so excited to have you. And Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.